to go ahead and take on a deal or a joint production of over 6 lakh AK-203 rifles and extended military cooperation till 2031 based on the current framework. Besides Singh, the 2+2 dialogue or foreign and defense talks were attended by External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov, and the Russian Defense Minister as well. All this happened during an action-packed day of the Russian President Vladimir Putin's visit to India. It was a visit packed with a lot of takeaways. And to talk about what exactly happened and what it means for Indo-Russia ties and the way forward for geopolitics in the world as well. To talk about this, I have with me on the program today Ambassador Pinak Ranjan Chakravarty, former Secretary, MEA, and he is also a Senior Fellow at the ORF. Also joining me on the program is KV Prasad, Senior Journalist, and Major General Shashi Asthana, retired Defense and Security Expert. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of Big Picture. Ambassador, let me start the program with you first. High-profile visit. It also lived up to the hype because a lot of things were decided.
Yes, indeed. I think it's a very significant visit from the point of view not only just of India, but also of Russia, because both countries are now showing that they will continue their old relationship to whatever extent they can, and they are not going to just discard their age-old ties in the defense and political arena. We are today also celebrating 6th of December, the announcement of the independence of Bangladesh, or the recognition by India of Bangladesh. And we all know what the role the Soviet Union played in that fateful and historic war. So I think there are lots of memories of Indo-Soviet and now Indo-Russian cooperation in various fields. And President Putin has been navigating this relationship for the last almost 3 decades or something, and ever since he became a president. I may got the time wrong, but I do remember that he's been there. When I was chief of protocol, I remember his visits very vividly. So what is happening today is, of course, we all know that the global situation is in a flux. There's China, there's Russia, there's Ukraine, there's a problem there, and Taiwan. China is threatening various countries. And again, the USA is threatening to impose sanctions on Russia because of Ukraine. So there is a lot of churning going on here. But within this ambit of churning, I think today India and Russia are showing that they will remain steadfast friends. And that is how India is also playing its cards in terms of its strategic autonomy and sending a message to the world that India is India, and India is not an ally of this country or that country, and India will chart its own independent course. And that is the most important message I think this visit is conveying.
Absolutely. General, I'd like to bring you in now. A lot of talk in the recent past has surrounded this fact that, India is putting all its eggs in the US basket. We are going to be focusing too heavily and relying too much on America now as far as defense ties are concerned. But we have shown the world that no, Russia is still an ally. Russia is still a friend. We still want to continue on the same trajectory that we had with Russia as far as defense ties are concerned, isn't it?
Certainly, because Russia is far too important as far as defense ties are concerned. Not only the fact that we are having maximum procurement and defense equipment is from Russia. Russia also manufactures the defense equipment, which is quite rugged and can suit all terrains where Indian Army and Indian Defense Forces are deployed. That's one specific thing regarding Russian equipment. Secondly, you name a equipment, there are Russian footprints. Even in your Make in India policy, the maximum transfer of technology has come from India, and that is how we have been tried to put in place some kind of Atmanirbhar Bharat policy in place. And if we see today that if CIPRI says that, okay, 33% reduction in our defense procurement is significant, it is a fair amount of role Russia has played in that. That is as far as defense is concerned. There is a strategic angle. Russia is also very important. It's a P5 member. We must not forget that. Number two, there was a feeling, as you rightly mentioned, that India is getting aligned with the US, and perhaps Russia is getting too close to China. Now, this visit gives a strong message to the entire world. Firstly, between both the countries, a message which goes globally is that it is not going to be China-centric world or USA-centric world. We look at a multipolar world. Secondly, whether it is Russia or India, both have their sovereignty intact and both are not appendix to somebody. Third, that our relationship is not going to change. And you would have seen Russia has actually demonstrated this adequately. Throughout the duration of the standoff, you would have seen none of the supplies of Russia of defense equipment has ever got delayed. Irrespective of his closeness, which is with the China, for the simple reason because of the sanctions by the West, and they both having one common adversary in terms of United States. That is one reason. But otherwise, Russia also does not want a China-centric world. It doesn't want its technology, including the hypersonic technology, to be stolen from its country, and reverse engineering on its equipment, and increasing expansionist claims in Tajikistan. All this is certainly not liked by Russia, and also subsiding his Eurasian dream. So that's as far as the relationship between these two countries are concerned. And that is why, reading between the lines, I want to highlight that you would have never seen Russia making any commitment for any Xi Jinping's misadventures, as well as Russia also not wanting any commitment from Xi Jinping on his Ukraine adventure. So therefore, it is not a relationship. It is a relationship being dictated by economy considerations and considerations which I mentioned earlier. As far as India is concerned, we needed S-400 at the right time. The deal is done, and irrespective of what happens, we are going ahead, and this message is strong and clear. Same goes for AK-2003 defense equipment. So therefore, what is happening is India has also given a message even to China. Chinese Global Times has been saying that, okay, Russia is in my pocket. No, that is not the case. When Putin took out his National Security Strategy 2021, he has mentioned in no uncertain terms that I've got two strategic partners, one China and one India. So he has put India there and told Chinese that, okay, this relationship is not breaking. And today was a display of that. So that is where I think perhaps is a bigger message which has gone to the world. Back to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, General. KV Prasad, let me bring you to the picture now. You know, the fourth country that we have such an arrangement with, starting, of course, with the United States, Japan, Australia, and now Russia, 2+2 arrangement of talks that we now have with Russia as well. That also holds a lot of significance because we only had 3 countries that we had such an arrangement with prior to this. So we too are telling Russia, and Russia is telling the world as well, that we are important for each other.
Yeah, I think the 2+2 format is a very significant development in our strategic and the diplomatic calendar that's going to develop from now on, I think the first conversations India has ever had on a 2+2 format was Japan. And that continues. And the fact remains that, remember, everything else is Quad. So this is outside of the Quad, which actually riles both Russia and riles China in the geopolitical sphere. So here India is also trying to, as we say, as we heard, our geopolitical and strategic autonomy in terms of foreign policy, that's being demonstrated that we can have a 2+2 with Russia, age-old tested partner. I mean, today, 50 years ago, we kind of celebrate, we kind of observe what happened in Bangladesh, how Russia stood by us when the American was sending the 7th Fleet. All that is history. But the fact remains, the geopolitical landscape has changed significantly. And today you're faced with a situation where America, of course, has been a superpower for the last 2 decades plus. And now in the last 5 to 8 years or 10 years, if I have to give just characterize it, China is rising. China is challenging America. Economically, they seem to be in a position where they can remove America from the perch and get onto the #1 perch. So we are seeing the new contestation happening. At this time, Russia also has its own issues, and as both Ambassador Chakravarty and General Asthana brought it on record, I would not like to repeat that. It's very important for India and Russia to assess where the relationship are right now and where can we take it forward, say, in the next 5 years. And that's where the challenge lies, because everybody understands we may have different in our perceptions as to how the world is going to develop. But is there a convergence? Is there a convergence of thought? Is there a convergence of idea? Is there a convergence of how this thing can be taken forward? I think that's important, and probably that would have been looked at today at the meeting and multiple meetings. I mean, if you look at the intergovernmental meeting on Mr. Rajnath Singh had with the Russian defense minister, the foreign ministers meeting, then the 2+2, and then the summit. So I think it's a very, very packed schedule, as you said, but all this would have gone through.
Absolutely. This is a point that I want to take forward with you, Ambassador. You know, what are the areas of convergence? Where do we see ourselves going forward, say in the next 5 years or 10 years, as far as India and Russia are concerned, considering all the geopolitical challenges and how the world has changed, especially over the last 5 years or so?
Look, the defense relationship is going to stay. And I think we are signing agreements, and we'll probably sign more agreements for procurement. And regardless of CATSA and what the Americans think. And what is very important is that Russia is also sending a signal to China that, don't think that, we are beholden to you, so we will have to be supportive of you in every cause. That is the message that is going across. The area that I think that India and Russia need to work upon is trade and investment. It is a sad commentary that today Indo-Russian trade is about $10 billion. Our trade with Bangladesh is also $10 billion. Look at the size of the countries. And I think it's a contrast that hits you in the eye, hits you, very badly. I think they're going to be having discussions on how to increase this trade. Look, the fact is that India-US trade, both goods and services, amount to $150 billion. India's trade with China is $100 billion. Now, where is Russia in this? Nowhere. $10 billion. That's comparable with Bangladesh. So I think that is one area where we need to really, although in the investment and the oil and energy sector, the trade is bigger, etc. I'm talking about goods and services. The energy sector is out of this sort of accounting, as we say. But there again, we need to, Russia is rich in gas and oil, and we will have to deal with it. We have invested in Russian energy industries, particularly oil and gas. So I think that is one area which will continue. But trade in goods and services is something we'll have to look at. And the other thing, of course, is that Russia and India We have a great people to people relationship, and I think tourism is a big thing. And I know, having visited Russia after my retirement as a tourist, and I've seen how good it is for tourism. And I think they need to welcome more Indian tourists, and we need to welcome more Russian tourists. I think that is a relationship that we need to pursue further.
Absolutely.
I think these are the connectivities that we need to think of.
Absolutely. Before the visit itself, several media houses, several reports were talking about Afghanistan and how that could be an area of cooperation between India and Russia. General, do you see that happening anytime in the near future? Because especially dealing with the Taliban, India has been quite reluctant to go full throttle to deal with the Taliban because history and experiences in the past have not been very good. But could Russia be our answer to the Afghan problem?
See, export of terrorism from Afghanistan is a concern for Russia as well as for India. There is another commonality between two of us is that Russia, although also does not have a direct border with Afghanistan, we have a direct border, but unfortunately, we are not in physical possession of that particular piece of land. I'm talking about Gilgit-Baltistan. And therefore, both of us have to actually influence the situation in Afghanistan indirectly. And indirect influence is not that effective as one would like to have it to be. So to that extent, there are certain limitations, although both the countries do understand the situation which can arise from there. Also, the humanitarian crisis, which is also of concern. And there is I would say, congruence in thoughts. But as far as action is concerned, I think both will be consulting each other in various global forums when it comes to recognition, when it comes to giving aid. I think there is some consensus to say that they should be given only in kind and only through UN agencies and not in the form of the money or something like that. Notwithstanding China and Pakistan trying to get the money released for them and things like that. So therefore, I think there is a little bit of, shall we say, congruence in our actions, but both have limitations, and Russia will not like to get involved directly because they have also burned their fingers once and they won't like to do it again. So it's not beyond a point. And as far as other areas are concerned, there are other areas of cooperation also, like a lot of talks about space. And when it comes to Afghanistan, the international north-south transport corridor, because if this corridor doesn't work, then it doesn't work for both of us. It is whether it's a project which both of us thought to see through together. So if it's not working, and if the conditions improve, then we both of us get benefited, and therefore there'll be a joint effort to improve that condition. And therefore, an extension of INSTC via Iran, Afghanistan was also looked at because Tajikistan is also one of the erstwhile USSR republic. So therefore, understand to that extent, that would also be an area where perhaps we would like to work together. But as I said, the influence is slightly limited because of not having a direct reach there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mr. Prasad, coming back to you now, let's talk about the China angle as well in all of this, and also the US angle, because of late we've noticed several commentators have spoken about it as well, that India and United States have gotten closer, and there is a clear rift and a divide ever since the Galwan incident took place between India and China as well. So will China and the United States be closely watching where and how the relationship between India and Russia is going?
Well, I think it's a fact that we know how the relationship have emerged in the last decade or so. India and China and India's relationship have taken a different tangent. And since 2020 Galwan incident, our relationship with China has turned frosty. And since there's a significant connect to Afghanistan, why I say so is because the Trioca, as we all know, the extended Trioca included Pakistan, and Russia kept us out of it, involving Afghanistan. So that was something which was very difficult for Indian policy planners and Indian people in the South Bloc or diplomatic circles to accept. So having said that, so we have to kind of look at it. What is Russia trying to do? Is as Ambassador Chakravarty also pointed out, Russia is sending a signal to the world. India is sending its own signals. But from where do we progress from where we are? That's important. It's a matter of perception. Let us accept it. A matter of perception that India is very close to Washington. I mean, this has been for more than a decade or so. That's the perception. But S-400 would be a test case. S-400 sanctions on the CAATSA would be a test case. And I'm sure the Biden administration and the US Congress, everybody's watching very closely what's happening on these fronts. Because S-400 is coming. And according to all reports, some of the equipment has started arriving. How we have beaten sanctions is our ingenuity. That's one aspect of it. China obviously is observing, because how far will Russia travel with China? So I think it's something is not black and white. I think there are shades of gray as I look at it.
Absolutely. Shades of gray is what we can call it, and very rightly put. Time to get closing comments now from all the panelists with the best way forward and where we see the ties between India and Russia headed and where the ties are at the moment. Starting first with you, Ambassador.
Well, I think that we are in a situation globally where every country is hedging, in the sense that that even Russia is hedging its bets, because it's trying to recreate and re-energize the relationship with India. We have relationships with other countries, so everybody is hedging, and nobody knows really how ultimately things will crystallize, because how China behaves becomes a major factor. I mean, for example, if you have a war over Taiwan, then things can go very, very wrong. And whether China is going to take that, cross that Rubicon is anybody's guess at the moment. Unlikely, I think, but still. So there is a lot of hedging going on. China has tested India in Ladakh, and we had a conflict. It's massing troops on the border, increasing its infrastructure, basically. And today, I think yesterday, the Defense Secretary of the United States said that Chinese sort of activities in the Straits of Taiwan seems to be like a rehearsal for an invasion. So I think these are the kind of comments that you are hearing. So I think we have to wait and see how things pan out, because today I'm afraid things are not very, very, I'm not sanguine about what will happen in the future, because who knows? But Chinese, of course, cannot be assumed that they will take that step. But I hope they don't, because that is what will create an absolute chaos in Asia and could lead anywhere.
Absolutely. General?
Yeah, I'd like to touch upon the US angle. At this point of time, India and US, we have a lot of convergences. There is no doubt. As far as Indo-Pacific is concerned, I think we stand with US. There is also no doubt about it. We have also made a lot of accommodation in defense procurement in a manner that it has reduced considerably from Russia, and it has also increased in favor of Israel, France, and US. And also we made a tremendous amount of accommodation in case of Iran, when we reduced buying oil from Iran. So the point is that, yes, we are looking after their sensitivities, and we, as United States, we also look at our strategic partner. They are also our important strategic partner, or one of the most important strategic partners as of today. So they also have to look at our sensitivities. And I think if you put the entire thing in perspective, then certainly in Indo-Pacific, we do stand with the United States. There is no doubt about it. And when it comes to others, as far as defense procurement is concerned, it's buyer's market. We will pick what is best for India.
Absolutely. I like that word, buyer's market. All right. Mr. Prasad, close the show for us with your concluding
just
remarks.
quickly, 2 comments. I was reminded when General Asthana was talking that when I was reporting defense, we were told two things. The Russians make the equipment first and put the person inside, and the Americans build the equipment around the person. So the comfort level changes when you use the equipment of an American equipment, and the comfort level is almost minus when you're a user of a Russian equipment. Well, that's on the flip side. But I also think there are two things, hopefully, and we'll hear as we go along, that India and Russia would have had a very, very candid conversations on issues that we don't seem to agree. Indo-Pacific remains on that very high. And I'm sure both sides are very seasoned diplomats handling the issues, would be aware of it. And in the days to come, we'll see, because today we have signed a slew of agreements across a wide sector, almost 20 agreements. So I think that shows that the depth of engagement is very deep. So it's a question of how deep will you dive to go with friends.
Absolutely. All right, gentlemen, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. Well, what's coming out of this discussion is that the depth of the engagement is reaching new heights as far as India and Russia are concerned, and we are going from strength to strength. As far as this particular visit of President Putin is concerned, it has been a very fruitful one. We've seen at least 20 agreements being signed as since the visit has happened. It has been an action-packed day. We saw the 2+2 dialogue taking place between India and Russia as well, both on the strategic side as well as the diplomatic side. And this is just the fourth such arrangement that India has. We have it with Japan, we have it with Australia, we have it with the United States, and now Russia, the first country outside of the Quad. We have also made it clear to Russia that we need them as far as defense procurement is concerned. And we've sent out a message to the rest of the world as well, especially at a time when commentators and analysts have been suggesting that India and Washington have been taking their relationship in a different way and have been sidelining Russia. At a time like that, it comes to the fore that India has shown the world that Russia is still important to us, and vice versa, because Russia too has sent out a message to the rest of the world, because everyone has been talking about how Russia and China have been collaborating and moving closer together. But Russia has sent out a message that India too is held in very, very high regard, and we can count on each other. Of course, we need to ensure that there is interest-based engagement going forward. We are all looking out for our own interests, and each one of the nations are hedging at this point in time and are testing waters. As far as the Indo-Pacific is concerned, India will continue to engage extensively with the United States. Just give you an example of this particular statement that I was making about how it's going to be interest-based engagement. Indo-Pacific, we're going to continue to engage with the United States. As far as Central Asia and beyond is concerned, Russia is going to be a key player. And from the defense supply side as well, Russia is going to be a big player. Well, that's that as far as this visit of Vladimir Putin to India is concerned. Very, very crucial visit and a high octane action-packed day as well. Now, before I go, let me once again remind you to like the video, subscribe, and share this video as well, so that more people get to know about Bharata first. We also have an excellent monthly newsletter that we bring out on the 15th of every month. Do subscribe to it so that you can get some incisive information. And how can I not tell you about a great success story, the Bharata First Knowledge Center? It's your one-stop destination for all your competitive exams needs. And we now have 26 amazing courses, all available at less than 1,000 rupees per course as part of our early bird offer. We are also giving an additional 10% discount for the first 100 to register. Several have already registered. There are only a few seats available who will get this additional 10% discount, and we're keeping that window open only for the next few days. So ensure that you register right now and take full advantage of everything that we have on offer. Don't wait. Do so right now. Go to kc.bharatafirst.com and don't regret later. Hundreds are reaping the benefits of the Knowledge Center. Don't be left behind. Live big picture current affairs analysis classes and Indian art and culture classes are going on at the moment. So if you register today, you'll get an opportunity to interact with me live and get the information firsthand. Also, one final bit of information before I go today. We are starting our third batch of our flagship internship program. We've had two very successful internship programs, started one in April, then one mid-year, and now finally going into the new year. I'm planning on taking a few more interns on board. Like someone has called it, it's not an internship, it's a mentorship. You will be under my guidance and you will get to witness things firsthand and understand how things work firsthand as well. And I will ensure that I make you a better Bharatiya. If you want to be a part of this internship program, it's a rigorous 3-month process, and you really have to put it all into the internship program, because only then will you get something back in return. And that's my philosophy as well. Send in your CVs and your resumes, or your resumes, to feedback@bharatafirst@gmail.com, and I will ensure that I have a look at them personally. So all this information, along with some must-see recommendations, are in the description of the video. Please go through it. That's it from me. See you again next time.